A huge aspect of improving swimmers' performance is improving their physical fitness. And improving physical fitness necessarily requires hard training. While it's easy to focus on the benefits of physical training, it's easy to overlook the potential negative consequences of that training on the development of skills. And if swimmers aren't fit and skilled, they're ultimately going to struggle to create speed. Hi everyone, Andrew here, helping you help your swimmers get faster. When swimmers train hard, they're going to get tired. And unfortunately, when swimmers get tired, their skills often break down. And if swimmers' skills are regularly breaking down, not only are they not practicing effective skills, they're certainly not improving those skills. If we can implement simple strategies that allow swimmers to train really hard, yet require them to maintain a high level of technical excellency, we can make the training process a whole lot more efficient. Let's find out how. We often focus on the benefits of any training intervention, but we also have to consider the negative consequences or the training baggage that comes with any type of work. And so the reality of training is that fatigue is necessary for physiological adaptation. Swimmers have to get tired in order to create the stimulus to improve their ability to create energy. Fatigue, typically, not always, but most of the time, is going to make skills worse. It's harder for swimmers to swim well when they're tired as opposed to when they're fresh. And so when they start to get tired, one of four things is going to happen. The first option is what we're looking for, in that their skills stay the same, their stroke rate stays the same, and so swimmers hold the speed throughout the set, even when they're getting tired. So that's a set well done. Now, another option is that the skills get worse, the stroke rate goes up to compensate for that lack of stroke length, and swimmers are able to hold their speed. So this can appear to be a good set because if they're doing 10 100s and they can hold the same time throughout, they're being effective at maintaining their speed. But if their stroke rate is going up as they navigate the set, that means their skills are getting worse because they're not going faster. So they have to use more and more stroke rate to hold their speed because their skills are getting worse and worse. And so in that case, we have a problem from a skill development standpoint. The other option is that swimmers hold their skills together, which is good, but they just let the stroke rate drop because they're tired. They can't maintain the same rate, and so as a result, they get slower. So while they hold their skills, they're not holding their speed, and that's not necessarily an outcome we want either. Another option is that their skills get worse. They're able to maintain their stroke rate, but as a result, because the skills got worse, they're going to go slower as well. And so all of those options are not good. Of course, there is a fifth option where their skills get worse, their stroke rate gets worse, and then they swim really slow. But those tend to be pretty obviously poor sets, and so we're not going to consider those necessarily. So we have one case where they hold their skills and they hold their rate, and as a result, they hold their speed. In some cases, they hold their skills but not their rate, and in others, they hold their rate but not their skills. And so we want swimmers to be able to maintain their effort levels, we want them to be able to maintain their speed, and we also want them to be able to maintain their skills. So how can we set up workouts, how can we set up sets so that we can limit the technical damage and allow swimmers to get the physiological changes that we want? And even better, if we can find ways to improve their skills and their fitness at the same time, it's going to be a lot easier to help them swim faster. So here's a strategy I find to be really effective. It's all about stroke rate consistency. So what you're going to do is you're going to give them a tempo trainer. You're going to ask them to hold a certain stroke rate, and you're going to ask them to hold a certain speed throughout the set. So if a swimmer tends to let their stroke rate drop when they get tired, they're not going to be able to do that because they have to stay on the stroke rate. Other swimmers who just simply slow down, other swimmers who hold their stroke rate but slow down are going to have to maintain more effective skills in order to hold the speed. They can already hold the rate, but they're not holding the speed. So swimmers who can hold their speed but they try to use more stroke rate, they can't use that strategy. They can't let their skills fall apart. They have to stay at the same stroke rate and they still have to keep the same time. So they're not allowed to use a higher stroke rate. So in every case, by keeping track of their speed and their stroke rate, we're forcing them to be consistent with their effectiveness in terms of how fast they're going and also their efficiency because they can't compensate for a lack of stroke length or skill with more stroke rate. So as a result, we're getting technical and performance accountability both in the same set. Swimmers can't cheat it. They have to swim well and they have to swim fast. They have to maintain their effort throughout the whole set or their speed's going to drop. They have to maintain their skill throughout the whole set or else their speed's going to drop. So it's a strategy that can be really useful for ensuring that there's technical accountability in sets without you as a coach having to just constantly remind them to keep thinking about their breath, thinking about their hand position, or whatever it is. And as I'm sure you know, that's not a particularly effective strategy. But if we can give them a stroke rate, we have the tempo trainer to hold them to that stroke rate, and then we're aware of their times, we can much better manage that and give them the constant feedback they need to make sure that they're staying on top of their skills without us having to micromanage their skills or without them having to micromanage their skills. So how can we optimize the implementation of this strategy? Well, obviously it's going to work best with any type of set that generates fatigue. So any type of set that swimmers get tired or they lose focus, this can be really good for helping them stay focused throughout that set. So it's a great strategy for all types of race training. It's a great strategy for all types of endurance training. And I like to think about it as a low cognitive approach to skill development under pressure because swimmers don't have to think about exactly what they're doing. They just have to stay on the stroke rate and they have to find ways to hold the speed. So they will find solutions provided the challenge is appropriate. It's particularly effective because it allows them to problem solve rather than just trying to think about a certain skill and hope that that produces a performance. By focusing on the performances, we're going to get the skills and the effort that those performances demand, as opposed to trying to think about specific skills and hope those performances show up. And of course, this strategy can be combined with any other skill development strategy. You can use it with resistance. You can use it with hand postures like closed fists. You can use it with different drills when they're using training aids. It doesn't matter. If they're getting tired, all you're going to give them is a stroke rate to hold and a speed to hold, and they've got to be consistent with that throughout the set. And if they can do that, that means they've maintained their performance from a speed standpoint and they've maintained their performance from a skill standpoint. And if they can do that, we're making really, really robust swimmers who can execute their skills under pressure. This is an aerobic freestyle set, so they're going to go 3 rounds through. They're going to go 100 freestyle with a buoy and upside down paddle, so we're putting more pressure on the ability to use the forearms effectively, and then they're going to go a 200 freestyle regular. They got to hold the same stroke rate throughout that whole set, whether they're using the freestyle with the buoy and upside down paddles or the 200 freestyle, and they're trying to hold the same speed throughout that section as well. So every time they repeat the 100, hold the same speed. Every time they repeat the 200, hold the same speed. Then we're going to use the same concept, apply that for 4 times, 100 freestyle with a buoy and single paddle, and then they're going to go 100 freestyle. So again, hold the same stroke rate throughout, hold the same speed. On the even rounds, they'll switch hands with the paddle, and they're trying to match what they did with the opposite hand. Last section, they're going to go 6 times, 50 and 100. The 50s are with a buoy and pinch paddles, so they're going to squeeze the paddles like that. Then they're going to go 100 after that, and again, same stroke rate throughout, and then they got to hold the speed and hold the rate each of those 6 rounds. So they have to be really consistent with their skills. We're putting more pressure on their ability to pull effectively on those odd repetitions, and on the even repetitions, they're seeing if they can match that and hold those skills throughout on the longer swims. And then on the even repetitions, they're seeing if they can hold those skills, hold the rate throughout those entire swims. Next set, they're going to go some 25s and then some 50s. The 25s are always breaststroke strong at 200 rate. The odds are with flutter kick. The evens are with dolphin kick. And they're trying to be really good about driving forwards, and they're using the upper body to make that happen. Then they're going to go 550s breaststroke strong at 200 rate plus 0.20 seconds per cycle, so a little bit slower. Then as we go through, we're going to drop 225s each round. We're going to drop 150 each round, and the stroke rate is going to be 1/10 of a second faster each round as well. And so swimmers are going to be trying to go faster each round because they have more rate. But within the round, they've got to hold the stroke rate within each swim. So the second half of each swim needs to be as good as the first half. And then they've got to do that for each swim as they go through. So the repetitions stay the same, and they're staying consistent within the repetitions, and whatever times they're going, they're trying to hold that to ensure that they're holding their skills together. So they can't move their arms faster. They also have to keep up with the stroke rate, and they've got to make sure they're executing the skills. And if they're not going to be able to achieve that speed. So we're putting a lot more pressure on the upper body here with this set. So this is a backstroke set. They're going to have 4 100s backstroke, solid effort. They got to hold the same rate. They got to hold the same speed throughout. They got to be consistent with their effort. They got to be consistent with their skills. Then 475s, strong now. We're going to use a faster rate. They should be able to go faster, but they still have to hold that rate and hold that speed. 450s, stronger effort again. Use a faster rate again. Hold the rate, hold the speed. Then they're going to go 425s, strongest effort. They're going to use an even faster rate. They got to hold that rate. They got to hold that speed. And then within each section, they got to be really consistent with their rate, really consistent with their skills, really consistent with their effort, and that will allow them to be really consistent with their speed. Then they're going to repeat that, but they're only going to go 2 repetitions of 100, 275s, 250s, 225s, but they're going to use the stroke rate from the shorter distance, and then they're going to try to go faster. So they're going to go 2 100s at the 75s stroke rate, 275s at the 50s stroke rate, 250s at the 25s stroke rate, and then 225s use a faster rate. And in each case, they should be going faster than they did with those 4 repetitions. If you want to learn another powerful stroke rate strategy to help your swimmers improve both their skills and their fitness, check out the video below.